All right, welcome everyone. We are changing things up just a little bit. Typically, on this particular Wednesday, and how I've been doing the hangouts every week, we've been alternating between Grace Believers Fellowship and Girls Night Out. Well, last week it was, just right before Christmas, and um, me and Michelle were not able to get together to do girls' night out, and Merle is not able to join today for Grace Believers Fellowship. So me and Michelle thought we would go ahead and just come on and go ahead and do a girls' night out this time, and then I guess next week we'll be back to Grace Believers Fellowship, and we'll just kind of work that way. But we're going to be getting back into the book of Esther. We will recap just a little bit. We covered Esther 1 and 2, so we want to make sure that we do a recap of that just to catch everyone up to speed. And then we will see how far we get into chapter 3 of Esther. But let me go ahead and have Michelle just introduce herself. If there's anything else that you want to talk about or add, go ahead and do that, and then we'll just kind of go from there.
Okay, hey everybody, I'm Michelle. I love studying the Bible. I enjoy especially studying women of the Bible, and I'm glad to be with Miss Wendy doing the girls' night outs, and I'm glad she decided to do the Ruth and Esther series, and that's really it. I have a little group on Facebook that we actually do Women of the Bible. I started it back in January of this year. And right now we just finished up with Mary. And I believe Anna's next. So if any of y'all are interested in that, just find me on Facebook. It's Michelle Hannah. That's
And it's Michelle Roberts Hannah on Facebook, right?
yes, it
Okay,
is.
okay. So
Yeah.
Michelle Roberts Hannah on Facebook, and then you can get the information to join her group. Now, before we get started with the recap, give me just a second. My dog wants out. Hang on just a second. Talk just a little bit more while I let her out, if you don't mind, Michelle.
Okay. Yeah, we in the group we've went through Ruth, Esther, and some of the ones that we've done here. The women of the Bible, if they're really interesting, the things that they have dealt with and went through, it's things that we deal with in our everyday life. Even way back then, it's still things that we deal with from day to day. And a lot of men won't come in the group. There's a couple that kind of hang out there, but they really don't have a lot to say in there. And but if you are dating, married, um, and you're a guy, then you need to check out that group because, it may help you understand women and the way that they perceive and think about things. And if you're going to have a really good relationship and a good home life and happy marriage, then you need to understand what women think and the things that they deal with. And it's a really good study, not just for women, but for men as well.
Well, and that's really important, and part of the reason why me and Michelle alternate every other week with Girls Night Out is just to have a place that, obviously women can come and join us in the live chat area and fellowship with us, but the men as well. We've had several of of our brothers that have come in and joined us for girls' night out, and it's a blessing. We want to have a safe place where men and women can come to fellowship, and from girls' night out to girls' night out. We sometimes we'll talk about different things. Yes, we are in a specific book of the Bible study where we're going to be continuing into Esther, but there are times that we'll just talk about various things, things that are going on in the world. We might talk about what it's like being a mother to grown children, and of course we can relate to the young women who still have young children at home that they're raising, because me and Michelle, we've been through that. Our boys are grown, and our daughters are grown, but there was a time when they were little, and so we understand all the different range of emotions that you go through, from being a young woman to much older in life, going through menopause and all the things that entails. And we
Yeah.
just want everyone to know that this is a safe place, and feel free to start chatting with us in the live chat. Me and Michelle, we can both see the live chat, so don't be shy. We are here to help. If there's prayer requests, please put them in the live chat area, because we don't know to pray for you unless you tell us that there's a need. And of course, it's always going to be up to you if you want to be vague or specific. And before we get into our Esther study, I need to share something that happened to me this morning. And I posted about this on Facebook. I had just started my work day. It was about 5:30 a.m. my time here in California, and my first ride request came in. Nothing unusual about it, but the minute I started driving down the street, I got a text message from the passenger, which the Uber app allows the passenger to give any kind of pickup information to the driver. And it was a woman. It was a female name. And she said, "Please hurry. I have been attacked and drugged out of a car." And my first thought was, Lord, how can I help her? And so I texted her back really quickly, and I said, "Please be safe. Call the police if you need to, and let me know." And I was about 3 miles from where I was to pick her up. And so, I'm just praying all the way there, because, I don't know the circumstances other than what she initially texted me. And I just wanted to be able to help her. And so when I pulled up, she was sitting on the sidewalk on the street that I picked her up on. And she gets in the car crying hysterically. She's just sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. And my heart just really went out to her. And immediately I asked her, I said, "What happened?" And she, it was hard for me to understand everything she was saying, but what I could make out in between her sobs was that she was attacked, that a man had tried to rape her, and apparently she was able to get away from him. Apparently he drug her out of the car. I'm not sure exactly how she managed to get away from her, because I was trying to be very, very careful in what I said to her. I wanted to be able to just be a good listener as well. And I was able to tell her that it would probably be a good idea to call the police, and she said no, that she couldn't do that. And I thought, well, I better not probe. And And so I asked her if she had any family or friends, where I was taking her to, and she said yes, that she had a friend that was waiting for her. And so that made me feel better, because I didn't necessarily want to leave her if she was going to be all alone. And it's like, it was probably a 10-minute ride to where I dropped her off, and she pretty much cried the whole way there. And it's like, I felt helpless. And so it's like, I didn't honestly know what to say to her. Um, I asked to make sure that it wasn't, an Uber driver, because you will hear of various attacks on women from Uber drivers. But she said no, that it wasn't a driver like that. I offered to give her my pepper spray, and she declined that. Um, and the whole way there, I just prayed and prayed for her, for God to comfort her, give her strength, give me the words to say if there was anything specific that I should say to her. And when we almost got there, I told her that I would wait to make sure that she got in, and then I told her that I was praying for her. And she thanked me and said that she could really use my prayers. And so that's why I posted about what happened, so that other people could be praying for her too, because I don't know the situation. I don't know all of the circumstances, um, as far as what happened to her, and all of that. But this is something, and the reason why I share this is because this is something that me and Michelle do for women. And so I just want to make sure that both me and Michelle, and especially because Michelle has been in the correctionals facilities, doing that line of work, and maybe Michelle can speak to this too. It's important that women stay safe, especially with how the world is going today. It's critical that you not put yourself in any kind of unnecessary, dangerous situations. I mean, I understand, some of us women, like me, I mainly work in the early hours of the morning. So I'm going out and it's dark out, and I'm driving around. But see, I have things that I carry on me to help protect me. And so, Michelle, is there anything that comes to mind that maybe we want to just talk about really quick, that maybe is, because we probably talked about this in the past, but maybe we need just a little bit of a refresher, just because of how dark the world is quickly becoming.
Well, I know that it's hard for people to um, travel in pairs because, like you work alone, and your paper spray and things like that. This is a day and time that you need something like that with you in your car at all times. Um, I recommend everybody have a concealed carry permit. I don't know if Uber and Lyft allow you to carry, um, but if at all possible, if you're in the situation to where you can carry, that's a really good option. Something else that I found out when we were doing classes and things is unarmed self defense for women is a great tool. And a lot of times you can get classes for maybe at your local YMCA's, or I know the particular one that happened outside of the Department of Corrections was a guy that actually worked with the Department of Corrections, was giving classes at a local rec center, and he was an amazing instructor. And he said, it was for women solely, and he's like, I just want to make sure that the ladies are safe. And if you have access to anything like that at your gym, or um, YMCA's or anything like that, that's a really good idea. Because if some big guy walks up and grabs you in a dark alley, there's not going to be a lot you can do unless you know how to protect yourself. So that's
Well,
one.
well, and also you could probably call your local police department and ask them if, because they would probably also have contact information for resources for, class for, both men and women, because I mean some men need just as much training in being able to protect themselves. I mean, we typically think, oh, men can take care of themselves. Okay, well, not every man can, and so probably calling your local police department would be a good start. You could call, like Michelle said, the YMCA. Or even like your local gyms. Sometimes they will they will offer things like that, and it's like, I carry the pepper spray, but then I also have a taser. Now, as far as conceal and carry, I know on Lyft that's not allowed, and I would have to check. Now, to be a driver, if you had a concealed carry permit, you basically just would have to keep it to yourself, especially if you're in a state where Uber or Lyft says it's not allowed. But it's like I would rather be judged by a jury of six than carried by six. I mean, you do what you need to do to protect yourselves. And so far, I have not really had anything bad happen to me where, I had to mace anyone or I had to get out my taser and tase anyone. But you just never know. You just never know. And so I thought, with as dark as, things have been in the world, and we're probably going to be seeing some darker days coming up. Don't be out at night unless you absolutely have to. Those of you ladies that are married, if you do have to go out at night, and maybe you live in what looks like kind of a rough part of town, make sure you go with your husband, or do the buddy system to the very best of your ability. But
Yes,
above all, mhm.
even the calmer neighborhoods after dark anymore are, it's like they come to life after dark, and all your nightlife and stuff out is out roaming around. We have a huge drug population in this county, and at 3:30, 4 in the morning, 2, 3, 4 o'clock, the roads are full of people walking. And typically, the neighborhood that I live in is pretty quiet, but you never know anymore. And um, I don't go out after dark unless I just absolutely have to. And I have means of protection as well. But it is, if you're female, if there's any way to avoid going out, like that, and it dark outside, you really don't need to, especially like Wendy said, the way things are now.
Well, and so much of the country is, you can just feel like this uneasiness, because we don't know what's going to happen in January with the elections. And there's things supposed to be happening on January 6th. We don't know how that's going to take place. And yeah, there's lots of, I mean, in the work that I do, I mean, yeah, all the bars are pretty much closed right now here in California. But even going to the bars as women's, it's not safe. It's just not, and so all I can do is admonish you guys, don't go out drinking, don't, just be smart. You have to really think about things very carefully, because 20, 30 years ago things were a lot safer then than they are now. And of course we see that a lot of this is because things are fastly moving along towards great tribulation. Now, of course, me and Michelle, we have no clue when that officially is going to kick off, but it's like we can see things leading up to it, and so the evil in the world is not going to get better. It's going to get worse, and we are still to remain salt and light, and to be a light in this evil world. But you just gotta don't put yourself in situations that are unwise. We're supposed to be gentle as doves and wise as serpents. And so just wanted to take just a few minutes just to just give a reminder to our Christian sisters out there to please be careful. Even if you have to think about things in a little bit different light, in light of everything that's going on. It's better to be extra cautious and not need to be cautious than to be naive about things or be careless or reckless, and then something happens. And we don't want anything happening to any of you guys. Was there anything else you wanted to add before we go ahead and get into our study?
Just amen. Stay safe, and we do care about each and every one of you that listen to us. I pray that our brothers and sisters in Christ stay safe every day, sometimes a couple times a day. So that's our prayer for you guys, is that you stay safe.
Amen. Amen. Well, how about I do a recap of Esther 1, and then you can recap a little bit of Esther 2, and then that should catch us all up, and then we will be ready to start our reading in Esther 3.
Okay.
Okay, so Esther 1, it starts out with there's a big banquet, or the title is The Banquets of the King. And of course, this would be in the days of Ahasuerus, and he was the one that reigned, and he reigned over 127 provinces. So this was a very large territory of land, and so in the third year of his reign, he is making a party. He's making a feast for all of his princes and his servants, the nobles and the princes of all these provinces that he was over. They were all invited, and of course the queen, she would be holding a feast for the women. So the king is holding a feast for all the men, and then Vashti, the queen, would be holding a feast for the women. Okay, and so at this initially at this feast, he's like showing off all of his riches, how glorious his kingdom is, and what honor he has, and that, and his excellency, his majesty. And he did this for many days. It says 104 score days. So that's 180 days, because I believe we figured that one score is 20 years, and if there's four score, then that's 80, and so it's 180 days he holds a party. Okay, and then when those days were expired, he makes like an additional feast. It's like a feast to end the feast is how I am looking at this. And that final feast lasted for 7 days in the court of the gardens of the king's palace. and we're given information about some of the colors and the tapestries and the hangings. There was white, green, blue, fastened with cords of fine linen, purple, silver rings, pillars of marble. The beds were of gold and silver, and the vessels that all of these noblemen that the king had invited, they were drinking out of cups of pure gold, okay, and they were all diverse from each other. They were all different, and of course royal wine was served in abundance, and the drinking was according to the law, um, and and then of course Vashti, the queen, is said to have made a feast for the women in the royal house, which belonged to the king. Well, because the king was having such a good time on the seventh day, and this would probably have been like the final feast, the feast that ended the 180-day feast. The heart of the king was merry with wine, so he'd been drinking quite a bit, and he commanded his seven chamberlains that served in his presence to bring Queen Vashti before the queen or before the king with the crown royal, because he wanted basically to show her off, because she was very beautiful, but she refused to come when the king commanded her, and so that made the king extremely angry, and then basically what happened is she was like dethroned, is how we would talk about it in today's vernacular, um, and so everything that had been given to her was taken from her, and of course a new like a new decree went out, because if the king had let this slide, it would have been a bad report to the whole kingdom, that wives could just do whatever they want to their husbands, and just on down the line of disobedience and chaos. And so and so there was a decree that went out, and it says, when the king's decree, which he shall make, shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small. And so letters were sent to all the king's provinces. And remember, he had 127 provinces, I believe, um, with this new decree, and that every man should bear rule in his own house, and that it should be published according to the language of every people. And so that brings us to where things were at the close of chapter 1. So do you want to catch us up in chapter 2?
Yeah, I will. Just for the record, my synopsis of chapter 2 is probably not going to be as great as yours. That was really good. Yeah, Vashti chose not to come when the king called for her, and he wasn't happy. So he's been gone, and now he's back, and he's like, I don't have a wife because she's gone. I don't have a queen. So I don't know if she actually left or if she was just set aside. But he's lonely basically at the beginning of chapter 2. So he's like, all his chamberlains and things, they suggest that he find him another queen. And that's what they set out to do all through chapter 2. And they summons the people to bring in all their young women, anybody that they have that they can present, as a possible queen. And Esther's brought in by her cousin. She is an orphan. Her name is in the beginning it was Hadassah, and later she was called Esther. And Mordecai, her cousin, um, she lives with him, and so he sends Esther to the palace to be the possible queen. And there was many beautiful maidens there, it says. And um, the king makes another great feast. This sounds like a really generous king. He um, sounds like he takes really good care of his people. And so he and all the women that come, they're given everything by the chamberlains that they need. And let's see, myrrh, oils, perfume. It calls it sweet odors in chapter 2. And when it comes Esther's time, she's like, no, I don't need all of that. This was a very beautiful woman, and she just didn't. She was very humble. It shows that she's very humble in chapter 2, and she chooses not to take advantage of all the king's riches and all this stuff that she could possibly have. She's like, no, I have all I need. So I think that's a really good example there in chapter 2. And toward the end of chapter 2, it talks about, now the whole time Esther is there, Mordecai's keeping an eye out on her. He checks on her to see how she's doing, and tries to keep up with her the best that he can, and keeps an eye out for her that way. And at the end of chapter 2, there is some guys in the gate of the king's castle that decide that they're going to try to harm him or kill him. And Mordecai overhears the conversation, and he lets Esther know so that Esther can tell the king. And he really saves him right there. So that was a big thing, and that gained the respect of the king for Mordecai and Esther. But as we head into chapter 3, the villain starts. Here he comes. So,
well, and another thing, she was told by Mordecai to basically keep it a secret that she was Jewish.
that she was Jewish. So,
Right. So the king had no clue that the queen that he married was actually Jewish. And so, yeah, Esther 3. Now we're going to get into the plot to exterminate the Jews. Okay, so I'll read the first 5 verses, and then we'll just kind of go from there. Okay, so Haman's plot against the Jews. After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of uh, Hammedatha the Agite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence. Okay, now that would have made Haman mad. Okay, so it was by the king's order that bowing and reverencing of Haman was to be done. Okay, and so there was something in Haman that King Ahasuerus that he liked, and he promoted Haman to set his seat above all the princes. So he was like the head honcho. But Mordecai didn't bow. And then it says in verse 3, then the king's servants which were in the king's gate said unto Mordecai, why transgressest thou the king's commandment? Now it came to pass, when they spake directly unto him, that he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand, for he had told them that he was a Jew. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, he did, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. Okay, so it's like we see a lot of, probably a lot of pride coming up in Haman, because he's got all these people. It's like everywhere he would go, in his chariot or all of that, everyone's bowing and like prostrating before him. But here's Mordecai not doing it. And now let's see. Okay, and it came to pass when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them. Okay. Okay, so what it looks like is Mordecai.
I'm thinking Mordecai's thinking that he's not bound before nobody other than God.
Right. And he's obviously, because it says, for he had told them that he was a Jew. The king's servants is who it looks like Mordecai would have, Mordecai would have said that he was Jewish, and probably according to Jewish law, you bow before no one but, God himself. But of course, Haman, because of too big of a head, as we would say, because of pride, that he's not bowing down, not reverencing him, he becomes full of wrath. And so that brings us up to the end of verse 5. Was there anything you wanted to add, and then go ahead and read the next 5 verses?
No, I think you covered it really well. I just want to say, hey, Curtis. Hey, love, joy, and peace. I can't comment in the chat, so just want to say hello, guys. And verse 6 said, and he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai. In the first month, that is the month Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast pur, that is the lot, before Haman from day to day, and from month to month, to the 12th month, that is the month of Adar. And Haman said unto the king, and unto King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad, as dispersed among the people in all provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people, neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore it is not for the king's profit to suffer them. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business to bring it into the king's treasuries. And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, the son of Hammedatha, and Agenat, the Jews' enemy. So Haman, he's found out now that Mordecai is a Jew, and he basically goes to the king and lies, because we'll find out later, what Mordecai's thoughts were. He's a godly man, so he follows God's laws. But Haman makes it sound like that's against the king. So he's deceiving the king.
Mm-hmm.
So the king will, hate the Jews as well. So basically he's just lying. He's just an evil man. And he's trying to get it squared away to get the Jews killed. And I think it's a lot to do according to what his thoughts were on Mordecai, because Mordecai's a Jew. He wants rid of him. And he feels like Mordecai has, just disrespected him and um, undermining him, like you said, because he's got the big head in the king's palace now, and he thinks that he's pretty much untouchable, and he hates Mordecai because he will not reverence and bow down to him. So he's really mad.
Well, and there may be jealousy going on here because Mordecai was the one who found out about
About the guys. Yep.
the death threat against the king. And he tells it to Esther, and Esther certified the king thereof in Mordecai's name.
Mm-hmm.
And so we could see it's almost like this rivalry thing going on, because then in verse chapter 3, Ahasuerus promotes Haman. And maybe Haman is angry that he's not the one that found out about the death plot, but it was Mordecai. And so it's like Haman doesn't want Mordecai getting any kind of like praise or credit for anything. And then of course he has the perfect example to seek his revenge when he sees that Mordecai is not bowing down or giving reverence. And so, like you said, then he's lying, he's deceiving, making it sound like their laws are all these diverse laws from all people, that they don't keep the king's laws. Okay, that's like because obviously the Jews know that they would not have bowed down before anybody but God, but other laws that the king would have had, they absolutely would have kept. If it does not go against the Torah, the law of Moses,
Mm-hmm.
that they absolutely would have kept the king's laws. Okay, but of course he's lying, and he's creating this narrative because he's found this grace, this favor in the sight of the king, because he's been promoted to this high status. And so the king doesn't even question. He thinks, he doesn't think anything of it. He's like the advisor to the king, and so whatever he's advising, he's just taking it.
And I guess the ring would be like, since he has the king's ring, that he's probably like that's showing that he's one of the king's advisors in the higher echelon of the king, I guess. I don't know what significance that is exactly, but it must be, pretty significant that the king gives Haman his ring.
Well, and when you look back to and they may even do it over in England now, but anybody who's watched any movies, of kings from the 12th century or the 15th, 16th century, when a decree was made or something of great significance, any kind of letters that went out or decrees, it would always be sealed with like a signet ring or something like that, like the king's seal. So I look at this ring of the king is kind of like his seal, his like stamp of approval. That's kind of how I'm looking at that too.
Yeah.
Okay, so now verse 11 says, and the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also, to do with them as it seemeth good to thee. Then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month, and there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants, and to the governors that were over every province, and to the rulers of every people of every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, in the name of King Ahasuerus was it written, and sealed with the king's ring. And the letters were sent by posts into all the king's provinces, to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little children and women, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, and to take the spoil of them for a prey. The copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready against that day. The post went out, being hastened by the king's commandment, and the decree was given in Shushan the palace. And the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city Shushan was perplexed. Okay, now this was, let's see. Okay, so I'm going back to verse 7. Okay, so it's the first month, the month of Nisan, the 12th year. So, let's see. 13. Okay, then we're the.
It talks about that it's and to take the spoil of them for prey. So
Okay, so they made this ruling. It looks like they made this ruling in the first month on the 13th day, but this was to be carried out on the 13th day of the 12th month. So a year later, or 11 months later is how I'm.
yeah,
Do you see what I'm saying?
yeah,
Yeah. So that way they had time to write these letters, because he's, ruler over 127 provinces. You got to get the word out. You know, this is going down on the 13th day of the 12th month, and they're on they made this decree the 13th day of the first month is how I'm reading this.
yeah,
And so this is where God absolutely is going to work through Queen Esther. There's going to be time for God to work in her and for her people to be saved.
yeah. And God uses her so mightily here, and she, along with her beauty, her grace, her humbleness, she's a very brave lady, and we find that throughout the women in the Bible as well. And most all of them, they are very brave. Most of them, a lot of them, is really humble. But the bravery is definitely a big thing that we see over and over and over again. And Esther is no exception. You want me to go
Oh,
ahead?
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, let's see. How many verses are in? We probably only have time to
Maybe just get started with the next.
yeah, let's get started, because then we can finish up the next time we're together, because now Esther's going to learn of Haman's plot. So you go ahead and take the next 5 verses from chapter 4.
Okay. When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes, and went out into the midst of the city, and cried a loud and bitter cry, and came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every providence, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews, and fasting and weeping and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it to her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she went remnant to clothe Mordecai, and to take away his sackcloth from him, but he received it not. Then called Esther for Hattush, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know what it was and why it was. So she's trying to find out why Mordecai's doing what he's doing. And it says Mordecai couldn't go in the chamber of the king in sackcloth and ashes. So he's just staying right inside the gate.
Well, right, and of course, by now, every province has gotten the word of the king's commandment and what this decree would entail. And it says there was great mourning among the Jews and fasting and weeping and wailing. And many of them, not just Mordecai, but many lay in
Many.
sackcloth and ashes. Um, and so Esther is told about at least what is going on with Mordecai, and it's like it was like a big no. You could not come into the king's palace clothed in sackcloth and ash, and so what she's wanting to do is send like clothing raiment to clothe Mordecai, to get rid of the sackcloth and ashes,
And he's like, no, I'm
take it
staying.
away, and yeah, and he's like, nope, I'm staying right in it. And so she calls for one of the king's chamberlains, who was appointed to her, and is sent to Mordecai to find out, okay, what's going on. Why are you wearing sackcloth and ashes? Why are you grieving so heavily? And so I'll go ahead and read 5 more verses, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up there.
Okay.
So Hatash went forth to Mordecai unto the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and of the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasuries for the Jews to destroy them. Also he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to show it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go in unto the king to make supplication unto him, and to make request before him for her people. And Hatash came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. And Esther spake unto Hatash, and gave him commandment unto Mordecai. All the king's servant. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, we'll save the message back to Mordecai for next time. But
Okay.
basically, so he had a copy, or he had the exact copy that
Of the
he had,
decree.
right, that was given at Shushan, uh, all about how they're supposed to be killed, and wants Esther to go in unto the king, and make a request before him for her people. And see, remember, up to that point, the king doesn't know. I mean, the king knows there's Jewish people in his land, but he doesn't know Queen Esther is actually a Jew herself.
No. And, she probably was kept from knowing about all this stuff because it seems like it's the king and Haman, and Haman's keeping the king's attention. And Esther, as a female, a queen in the palace, I, I don't know, but it just seems like they don't get into a lot of business.
Right. It's like the way it's written, she didn't know what the common folk knew.
No.
Somehow that information was either like kept from her, or they thought, okay, this isn't the queen's business. She doesn't need to know all about every law and decree of the king. I mean, obviously, we're going to see she knows the law, that she can't just go summon herself before him if he hasn't requested her. She does know that law, at least.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're going to find out that Mordecai is asking her to do. And so we'll see what her response is back to Mordecai in, I guess, 2 weeks. We'll just kind of start over, even though today technically would have been a Grace Believers Fellowship. We'll just swap it around, and then next week will be Grace Believers Fellowship, and then the following Wednesday, me and Michelle will be back, and we will pick up where we left off in Esther 4. But and this is, I don't know. Have you ever seen any movies made on what happened with Esther? I think I saw one movie a long time ago.
There is one, and it's on YouTube and it's on PureFlix, and it is amazing. And it's simply called The Book of Esther.
Oh, the
Uh,
book of Esther. Okay.
yeah, and it's portrayed um so accurately, even to the point of the guy that plays Mordecai does an awesome job. The guy that plays the old evil devil Haman, they picked the perfect actors for this movie,
Right. I
and
bet they did.
and
Mm.
it's not. I think it came out in, I want to say 2013, but it's the best one that I've seen, and I've watched it a couple times simply because I watched it back when we did the Facebook study on Esther, and then when you and I were going to read Esther, I went back and watched it again, and I love it.
I'm gonna have to try to find it. You said they have it on YouTube.
Yeah, I saw it there this morning when I was pulling up some.
Let me look for it really quick, because let's put it in the live chat area, so everyone else. Okay, so it's the book of Esther.
Yes,
Oh, full movie, right?
yeah, it's like an hour and 15 minutes, and it has a real beautiful girl as the thumbnail.
Let's see if this is gonna play. Yep, I think I've got it right here. Okay, let me grab this link, guys. It would be really good for you guys to all watch this. That way, you'll be caught up, and because some of the things that me and Michelle have talked about, we may not be doing justice to even the laws of the customs. I mean,
Yeah,
we try, and so this
yeah,
this movie will definitely probably help bring in some of that, some of the nuances of the customs back then, because
yeah.
it will help bring the scriptures alive. I think.
Yeah, it's outstanding. I think everything is exactly right with the Book of Esther, except for the chambermaid that goes and talks to Mordecai, or and comes and lets Esther know what's going on. It uses like a old friend that she had before she became queen to go and tell what's going on with her people and Mordecai. But other than that, it's absolutely to a T with what the Bible says, and the way that the Bible lays everything out.
Yep, and the Jewish people every year, during when is it? They go through like a play of, the bad evil Haman and Mordecai and Queen Esther, and I'm trying to think of what the name of it's called. I used to know all of this when I was in the Hebrew Roots movement. I can't think of what it's called now, but yeah, it's like it's not a biblical holiday as one of the feasts in the Bible. It's like what we would say, like Christmas is to us, Christ's birth. But it's based on the book of Esther, and this is something that's very predominant in the Jewish community, about their history and what Queen Esther, did with the help of the Lord.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a prayer request from Lovejoy Peace. She had pulled a muscle doing yard work yesterday, so we want to remember to to keep her in prayer. And boy, I know what that's like. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes I wake up, you know, and I've slept on my arm wrong, or I slept on my neck wrong, and it'll hurt for days. It really will. So
Yeah.
we want to keep her in prayer. Let's see. Curtis was here. Love, Joy, Peace is here. But yeah, you know, remember to keep each other in prayer, especially, you know, because sometimes the holidays, you know, Christmas time can be very, very hard, you know, especially if you just lost a loved one, you know, the current year. You know, these are times, you know, when we really miss those that we have lost, you know, that have gone on to be with the Lord. And so it can be a very, very hard time of the year. So just remember to, you know, give yourself a little bit of extra, you know, TLC. Be gentle with yourself. You know, like for me, I've been allowing myself to have more naps during the day. You know,
Yeah.
you know, take care of yourself. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Make sure that, you know, you're eating healthy, as healthy as you can, and just, you know, take care of yourself. You know, especially those of you that are caretakers. You know, my dad's best friend used to tell me all the time, you know, because he knew that I took care of my dad, that I will not be any good to my dad if I don't first take care of myself. And
Yeah.
that's so true. You can't just wear yourself out to where you're just running ragged, because then you're not good for anybody else if you're just all spent. So make sure you take care of yourself. Then you will be better able to take care of those around you that really, really do need you. But all right, guys, hang on with me for a few minutes, Michelle. I'll be able to visit with you for a little bit. But to everyone else, we'll be back hopefully next Wednesday. Merle will be back, and we'll just get started. It'll be officially 2021, and we'll be in a brand new year, and we're going to try to think positive, guys. Okay, we're going to try to think positive. I'm just glad 2020 is almost gone. We got a brand new year coming up to look forward to. So all right, you guys take care. God bless, and we will just see you next time.